So it's been about 2 weeks since my bodybuilding competition, and I wanted to talk today about some of the things I didn't really care for during my prep. And then next week, I'll go ahead and I'll talk about some of the things I did enjoy while I was on prep. I did want to mention that now that I can eat whatever I want, this is the biggest challenge because I can literally eat whatever I want. My body is like, you could have this, you could have that, as I'm going through the grocery aisles. And just because I can doesn't mean that I should. So I still got to be really disciplined. It's just my mindset now, it's always a mental game. And even now, like, because my mind is like, well, you can have this, go for it. Why not? But if you had that mindset, like, just you give in to every single thought that you have of buy this, eat this, eat that. Eventually, you're going to be in a place where you're like, I've gained 30 pounds, I gained 40 pounds. What happened? So I want to keep the momentum going. I want to keep the physique that I have. Obviously, I'm not going to be eating exactly the same like I was when I was on prep, but just having a pretty healthy diet and then having a couple of cheat meals on the weekends and also staying away from sugars. Like, that's the one thing my body's been craving the most is sweets, and I have to be disciplined with that. So that's been the biggest struggle so far. But anyways, back to things I did not like while I was on prep. The biggest thing was just being at the mercy of my food, having to eat every 2 hours, having to cook all the time, having to clean all the time. And if you're thinking about getting in a bodybuilding competition, you really need to consider that. It's time. The prep takes a lot of time from your day, and also just having to put aside, my family get-togethers. When it was time for me to go to the gym, normally I would be flexible, like, oh, I can go to the gym later, I can go to the gym, I can just miss, that day. But during this prep, I couldn't. There, I had a schedule planned out, and if someone was like, hey, we're having to get together at this time, if it was gym time, I'm sorry, I couldn't make it because if I wanted to be successful, I had to stick to a schedule. So I felt really bad about that I took time away from my loved ones. I didn't like the spray tanning. It wasn't a new experience, but I didn't really enjoy it. The tapering of water from going from one extreme to the other, 3 gallons to sips at the end was not enjoyable. I didn't like the feeling of being dehydrated. Intentionally, like it's just not fun. I mean, you don't want to be dehydrated in general, but doing the intentional dehydration, just I did not like that. I was in a fog. Um, but other than that, oh, the last thing, I am so happy that I don't have to drink egg whites anymore. That is the one thing I did not like as far as my prep. Eating all the other food was fine. Um, it's just that the egg whites are just so disgusting. But anyways, those were the things that I did not enjoy. Getting up at 4 a.m. to do cardio was fine. Sometimes doing 3 days was fine. Everything else, it was just whatever. But those were the things I wanted to talk about, the things that I did not enjoy. And yeah, next week I will talk about the things that I did enjoy. And I guess I will talk to everybody next week. Everyone have a great week.